I'm back with Cyclone. It was a good win for the Mallets. What do you think of the draft?
I really liked it. I thought the picking Rakan first is flexible, and then you get the Zyra as well, so you've got one of the best 2v2 bot lanes in the game, or you can put it mid, and then they pick Talia, which is usually in the jungle at the moment, but with the changes they made, people have been starting to pick it back into other lanes. And so Talia's a flex, so you literally get to choose where all of your champions go in your last pick phase on blue side,
So
which
then
is super sick.
Bryce refused to answer and hedged on the desk. Would you say this is a better approach to funnel comp?
I think this is, yeah, because you've got a couple more threats. Normally funnel comps don't lose at the funnel. They lose through their side lanes, and they got pretty strong side lanes, and you saw Swiffer just killing everyone. So when you've got a funnel comp and your side lanes are winning, that's really, really good, and you shouldn't get that.
And part of this, it looked like forced Bombers to approach attacking the funnel in a different way, right?
Yeah, it felt kind of weird to me that they were like putting all their resources mid, especially when Order had like a lot of globals to collapse to that fight. Normally when you're against globals, you want to go to the globals so the other members can't join. And it kind of worked the first time around they did it. Bombers got the Infernal Dragon, but then the next couple of times it did not look like it went so well for them.
And so what do you reckon, what's the tip for the next game for Bombers then, if you were in the coach's shoes?
If you play against another funnel, it really feels like you need strong side lanes that you can like break towers before the funnel gets going.
All right, well, there's the tip. Hopefully they were watching, but something they will be watching is this Q&A because it's time to learn a little something about Cyclone. Now, the elephant in the room that we have to address. What happened with Tectonic this split? What did you do to those boys? What sort of things have you done mentally, physically, emotionally, erotically? Who knows? What is the fix?
Well, we took a pretty hard look at where we were, and we didn't really like it. So we made some changes, and we put out a call, and we said we're looking for some boys from overseas who might be able to upskill us a bit, and we brought Trance and Value over, and we managed to get hold of Sybil as well, and the brains that we've put together now are working really hard, and it feels like we're just this organism that's growing and learning really, really scarily fast. It's crazy.
Is there a attitude shift that bringing in fresh blood has rippled throughout the organization, and is it something where you're riding this new success and so therefore you're feeling empowered?
Yeah, there's definitely like those guys, because they've had experience working with LCS teams. They brought a little bit more professionalism over and kind of like raised the standards that we expect from everyone in training and on game day a little bit. But more so it's just the knowledge that they have combined with, I guess, like, I don't know the most out of all the coaches in the league, but I'm pretty good at getting other people's knowledge out of them and transferring it to people who don't have it. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm like funneling knowledge to the players who need to learn it, and it seems like it's working.
Excellent funnel reference.
Thank you.
I very much approve of that. Well, it is working. As this is my first split, obviously, as one of the OPL team, and of course here with my trophy. And I am very excited. I love the fact that I love that underdog story. And watching you guys, I mean, don't tell Jake, but I hope you guys take it out from the top.
You mean we're not going?
We're fine. No, you're definitely going to take it. It's fine. Now, there is, of course, a second elephant in the room. And this one is on a trampoline, because you're a fancy trampoline boy.
I do jump up and down occasionally. Yeah.
Professionally before.
I was never paid.
That's not the information I heard. I heard you were paid $1 million to do it. No, you were a competitive trampolinist?
Yeah, that's correct.
What is it tricks? Is it just about how high you can go?
Yeah, you do 10 skills in a row, and then you get points if you didn't fall off.
Give me 3 trampoline skills.
A tuck back, a
of course.
pike
Well, everyone
Barani.
knows
It's a
those two.
backflip.
Yeah.
In this position.
Yep.
And you can do a front flip with a half turn, which is called a Barani. And you can do like a Rudy out, which is a double front with 1.5 twists at the end.
Is this? I mean, it's kind of like diving from a high board, right?
There's a lot of crossover. Yeah.
Is there ever duo trampoline stuff where you would do it with your brother and you get the bounce?
Two separate trampolines next to each other. And you do it at the same time.
Do you swap over?
No. Well, not in competition. You might do it for muck around.
Do you throw balls at each other?
Maybe for fun, not in competition.
So
you've got some good ideas for sports.
I really do.
Maybe you should give someone a call. I could hook you up.
Who would I call? I mean, a game like Rocket League could work. I don't see why there couldn't be an esport, which is like trampoline ball throwing game. We'll work on the title later. It's fine. Now, my other question, why would you ever leave that to go and do something like coach an esport, which is much more of a professional sort of feeling?
Well, I was doing both for a while,
Mm.
and then people were giving me money to do this.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it's actually really, really, really rewarding to work with a group of people and try and like build something more than just yourself. Because as an athlete on a trampoline, it was just me.
Yeah.
And like that's cool. I like experimenting and working out how to do the flips better and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when you work with a team and you have a group of guys bought into like a shared dream,
Yeah.
and you're trying to like figure out these things, and you have this performance, and you succeed as a team, and you grow as a team, and also when you fail as a team, that experience is like I hadn't had that as an individual athlete. It was kind of like me and my coach sometimes.
I totally know what you mean. The idea of you, and you also learn much more as a team. As a collaboration, you end up soaking in way more knowledge. I mean, you gave a very serious answer to that. I was hoping it was something dramatic, like you had a partner, and one day he just jumped too high and floated up into space, and it just kind of like like you're like, I can't even talk about it anymore. It hurts too much. I have to leave the sport.
I actually did concuss myself as well. I forgot about that, possibly to do with a concussion.
Were you trying to jump between trampolines?
No, it was. I fell off a skateboard. It was completely unrelated to trampoline.
Was the skateboard on the trampoline?
No.
Was it a scampoline? Because I may have just come up with something. Okay. Of course, I'm not the only one that had questions. We also got some questions for the audience. Vendra O says, excuse me, Mr. Weatherly, where did Cyclone originate from?
Well, my last name is Weatherly, and I wanted.
I know they referred to you as Mr. Weatherly.
And I wanted a cool name because that's what happens when you're in esports, is you need a cool name. And originally I came up with Twister because when you're a trampolinist, you're either a flipper or a twister.
Right.
And then I made that my Smurf, and then I couldn't use that for my main, so I needed a new one. And a twister is also a weather system.
Yeah.
In Weatherly. So I just came up with another word for like a spinning weather system and spelled it differently because I'm edgy.
God. It goes so deep. Again, this is such a serious answer. I was hoping that the partner that floated off into space from jumping too high was called Cyclone. And then finally, Dash BB says, I'm asking for a friend, but what is Cyclone's ideal location for a first date?
There's a really, really great sushi place next to the Queen Victoria building in town in Sydney. It's called Sushi and Grill, I think.
That's where you want to go?
Yeah, sponsor me, please.
All right. How do you deal with the fact that the wasabi would be bouncing around all the time? Because you're obviously on a trampoline.
Well, if you bounce in sync, it doesn't move relative to you.
Oh my God!
If you drop something when you're falling, it falls with you.
It falls with you.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, wasabi is heavier. No, that's been disproved. Everything falls at the same rate.
Yes.
Boys, would you go on some sort of like skating trampoline date with me?
I actually think that a truckless skateboard on a trampoline would be real cool.
Scampolining?
Like, yeah.
It is a thing, and it is really fun.
Yes. That,
is it really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
You can hurt yourself really bad, but it's really fun.
Oh, I thought I just made millions, but it turns out I didn't.
But out of that segment, I forget what it was called. I think it's called like a Harambe or something. I want to see Nick Boy do a Harambe, which is like the triple.
Harambe was the gorilla they shot, mate.
What was it called?
There's a Barani.
Yes, that one. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Isn't that a kind of rice?
Bairani?
Basmati rice.
You're thinking of Bairani rice. That's a thing.
Are we into game yet?
Yeah, we are.
The one... I just wanted to ask Cyclone a question.
Okay, ask him a question.
No, that's all right. We're into game now. It's going to be Bombers taking on Order. It's going to be Galio, Rakan banned away. It's going to be Aatrox banned away by Order. So both red side teams banning the Aatrox so far.
Just getting rid of everything standard so far. The Galio and the Rakan. We saw Rogue was very instrumental on that pick earlier in game number 1, so that's completely fine. And Order, just standard meta bans again. You talk about the Aatrox, the Nocturne once again has emerged as one of the best junglers on the patch, so just getting rid of that one.
And I know we've spoken about it a lot, and obviously I have more insight into Order, so I will talk about this for just a brief moment. Ever since the Tectonic loss, Order has seemed to really hit reboot on how they approach the game. And they ban, like, their bans have been the same, week in, week out. Morgana has been gone the last 2 weeks we've seen this team play. Why? In my opinion, it's because Order like to play engage, and Morgana kind of stops people engaging very rapidly. So
spell shields do.
That seems like a really good ban for them to pick up. But I think that they really have started to play a lot more, individual style League of Legends, as opposed to like what is the strongest on the current patch. I'd like to get your thought on that. What is your thought of like linear one style perfect it versus, try and adapt with metas and try and be the best at everything as it rolls out?
The meta is the meta for a reason, and the best picks are literally stronger than everything else. But if you're not finding success and you're better at another style, then you should just play that style. I think, like, it's the whole reason why one tricks exist. Like, you're an Annie main. You play Annie up all the way to Challenger, and then you're like, hey, like, Annie is pretty boring. I want to branch out. And that's how a lot of players get into competitive.
Yep.
Right? And I feel like the analogy rings true for teams as well that aren't finding success. You just play your one style, and once that's successful, then you can start branching out more. Whereas, like, if you do only experimentation and it's super rough early, then that can be a hindrance.
Certainly can be. It's going to be Zoe Lucian locked in for the Bombers. It's going to be Swain and Zaya. Once again, two very flexible flex picks as Tally tries to figure out how to drink water. And James, I don't think you've nailed it this time. We'll maybe come back with the camera in about 10 minutes.
I feel like that drinking of water was much better than Sleeping's eating of chewing gum about 30 seconds ago, which I think you were looking at me, so you didn't see it.
No, I saw it. He popped it all over his face.
It was a struggle. It was a struggle, but that's a Kindred.
Certainly is. Champion that we've seen rise in popularity around the world, mainly as a counterpick to the Trundle. However, potentially also as a good stop to some of these teamfight comps.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Tarek will be an interesting lock-in. I want to talk about Kindred for a little bit more. Her clear is now healthier. She got the attack speed debuff is removed a patch ago, and instead she got some sustain. So her clear is much better. She works a lot similarly to Graves in the early game. You know, just a marksman jungler. You can bully people around. You want to get your stacks off. There's that whole other little mini game in terms of League of Legends, and just rising in popularity.
And with the Tarek locked in, once again, ought to go back towards engage support. They notice that there's no engage picked up so far. Top lane engage, very easy to come by. Support engage lately has been a lot more difficult.
Is Tarek an engage support?
No, so I'm saying they're banning engage. Alistar.
Yes.
Rakan's already gone.
Okay. So I was
you
going
argue
to say
that Pyke is left, and then there's no engage support.
I'm not a big Pyke fan, but they do ban that one away. There's a whole lot of support bans this game, just in general. The fact that we're seeing a Tarek, there's Rakan, there's Braum, there's Ali, Morgana, all banned away. So the support pool is treading pretty thin. I feel like for most players, Rosie's he's pretty fine in this situation. He can pick pocket picks like the Pyke. He can play Shen. He has played the Bard as well, so I feel like he won't be too phased. Individually, he's probably like, hell yes, get rid of the boring meta champs, give me Bard.
I wonder if he takes Fiddlesticks again, because it looks like Fiddle is going to be up and available. Order didn't ban it away. Pyke also going to be available.
And Fiddle is actually pretty interesting in this sort of situation. Tarek ulti is all about the timing, and Silence can just be a complete nuisance that is almost impossible to play around. That would be very interesting if this is another funnel coming out of Order, but we'll hold it. Okay, did get just locked in. All right.
And FBI still has Smite, guys. So surprise, surprise.
I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I kind of had the inkling, you know, because like Tarek isn't what you expect Rogue to lock in there. Short range AD carry of the Lucian.
So is Spooks playing it?
Last time he played it competitively, it was an absolute disaster.
So Spooks Shen greater than Spooks Tarek? I just want the
100.
support tier list of Spooks.
You're like a reporter right now. You're trying to get like the one-liner that you can turn into a headline, and I flame Spooks, and then when he pops off, like, I get all the hate. But no, I feel like his Shen looked much more successful.
He got first blood.
Yep, he did. That flash taunt, level 2. Flick back onto Talia. The fact that they're going back to the Mundo, I kind of don't like. Because to talk about the trajectory of Bombers draft right now, I feel like Tiger's Lucian has looked very good in the past.
Absolutely.
Seb's gone back to a non... At the top of the show, I was saying, like, they're just blind picking Sejuani. They're just giving him engage because nobody else will. And this is what happens in that situation. They pick Kindred. Sure, she's a strong jungler, but now your best form of engage is a Bard ulti landing or a Zoe bubble landing, things like that. This is a finesse comp that does have outplay potential to, once again, Order go for the mallet in a funnily sort of situation. So there's outplay potential, but if Order get ahead early, then I feel like it's going to be super rough for Bombers.
Yeah, and the thing about Swain is any point-and-click CC plus Swain is a way to start a fight.
Yep.
We've seen Fiddlesticks just charge into a lane, fear someone, run the opposite way and try and set up their ult. Meanwhile, Swain's ripped them back, E'd them, layered CC, and then you have to defend that person because Fiddlesticks can point on whoever he wants that CC to hit.
Yep.
So I feel like the Kindred is good in that regard because it will deny a lot of that if played perfectly.
Yep.
But another way to deny that is to throw a Sejuani ultimate at Fiddle as he's running in and just try and kill the little bugger. And I think that Bombers suit much better to that style than they do this heavy finesse will outplay them in the team fight.
You want to know my favorite niche counter pick to Fiddlesticks?
Yep.
Is Blitzcrank.
Really?
Because just like the Sejuani, like if he's just channeling his ulti, you could just hit him with a flash hook and he is useless. You can silence it, you don't have to expend hook, stuff like that, but as you mentioned, Blitzcrank, not really at the height of the meta.
So we are about to get onto Summoner's Rift. Game number 2 is going to be Bombers versus Order. Order are one up in this series. However, I like the composition out of Bombers power pick-wise for Luch and Tiger a little bit more. Carry set up for success in this game, as we are about to get into Summoner's Rift for game number 2. Windows Monkey is joining us. Welcome to the desk.
Oh, thanks.
Congratulations on winning Rift Rivals. We've claimed it as an OPL region, so it's everyone's trophy. So what are your thoughts on us winning Rift Rivals in that way?
Oh no, it's really cool to see like Oceania winning it this year, especially on the home soil. So it's a lot of fun watching the games, and yeah, really glad that we won.
Did you watch all the games? Were you guys busy practicing, or like were you watching the event, trying to take meta things from that, stuff like that? How did the break sort of feel for you guys?
I know we actually had a short break just over the days, a couple of days of Rift Rivals. So we had players actually went up to Rift Rivals and watched it. So
oh yeah, Rosie was literally on the broadcast interview with Nick Boy.
It certainly was, and I want to ask you about how you see the meta adapting right now. Obviously, Seb. Onto the Kindred, we're seeing, you know, a lot more Mundo locked in for you guys. Do you still feel that the meta is in a flexible situation, or do you think that it's finally starting to solidify and get back to normal? I really hope it's normal. Are you still saying it's flexible? He's kind of looking at me right now.
I mean, it's kind of become like normal for things to be very flexible. You know, there's so many different like strategies we can try. So like when you see like a funnel, it's not like nobody's like, oh my god, what is this? It's just, you know, just sort of happens now, right?
And I have sort of a stylistic thing. Myself and Jake as players, like we're very heavy, like pick CC, pick engage, stuff like that. You guys play a lot of like these sort of compositions with not a lot of hard engage. You don't have an Alistar. Your engage tools are like a cleaver or a bubble or a bard. Do you guys see the game that way? Do you guys feel like you're opting into these sort of finesse outplay compositions, or is it a bit different?
I guess there's like multiple different ways which you can build a composition. Like the composition like this, obviously, have like a lot more pressure, and you can kind of like utilize that pressure to gain positioning to, I guess, get engages off. But I guess it's a little bit more punishing if you fall behind, whereas like I guess there's other compositions you can run engage, which are a lot easier if you do fall behind.
Cool. That's the best thing about League of Legends. Multiple ways to play the game, see how this one works out. All the best, Windows Monkey. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Of course, that was the head coach of the Bombers, and I agree. Like, we talk about, and this is the thing about having like-minded people in certain ways, where Bryce and I have spent the last 4 years...
being head rammers.
Maybe the last 3 years. Actually, I was going to say talking about being head rammers together. Because we have, you know, even when you're a pro player, we talked fairly often. So we do obviously like to play the game in a fashion that is very proactive. We maybe both have some attention issues, and if we're not doing stuff, we get bored.
Yourself, mate. Speak for yourself.
Where is mate, I've seen you play Lulu.
One of the best things about becoming a caster is I no longer have to watch my games and hear your opinions over the top.
Is that really one of the best things?
Like it was pretty funny. I liked our conversations back in the day. You know, like when you'd say something, I'm like, mate, Jake,
you're
that is just
absolutely wrong.
Completely wrong. What are you doing? But now we're here together. And there's nobody to call us out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only everyone on Twitter and in Twitch chat. That's
but
fine.
the best thing is, if I turn my phone off, I have a microphone, and those people don't. Like, it is the perfect way to live life. As Swiffer and Spooks actually just took themselves a cheeky bottom scuttle crab.
They did, as Zoe versus the Swain earlier in this sort of matchup has done a much better job at shoving in the mid lane. FBI and Rogue have been catching the wave much closer to their turret for the first 3 minutes of the game. Seb went and got the top crab, so they didn't get double scuttled or anything like that with Order taking away the bottom one, but it just means that the funnel champions don't have to go and pick that one up. They can farm a different camp.
And I like this, Bryce. I like the fact that Kindred is locked in, because I've just noticed that your marks early game either go to crabs or go to the far side camps.
And funnels don't want to go there.
And I mean, they have to go there now, but it's going to cost them tempo. And you see, meanwhile, Tiger dashes in. Actually, flash forward. Fear. Rip back is not going to land. That is Tiger ticking over to level 3 and will get out with heal.
And honestly, a misplay from Swiffer there. Flash Fear immediately goes down. They get the ignite onto the heal, but the Rip just misses.
Sleepy Trouble Bubble is not going to land. However, over the wall goes multiple members, and with no stun, first blood picked up for Luch.
And Greed bites Order in the ass. Their Rogue splits from FBI. They walk different ways to the mid lane. Has to burn the flash, but I really like the hard commit out of Bombers. Double flash burnt to pick up that kill. And that was the mark as well. Rogue was the marked champion, so Kindred, a nice little bonus there.
Makes a lot of sense, because he is going to be out of experience for a lot of these jungle camps. As you can see, Rosie trading very well with Spooks.
Just going to chug a few potions there and trying to heal himself back up. FBI does have the red buff, so in the 1v1, Luch still down a level, down a red buff. Things are ultimately fine. Comparative to game number 1, though, top side.
Oh, it's actually Luch has to burn the W flash there. Big damage coming out of FBI.
Lucky he was holding on to that one, so took a rough trade. I was going to mention the Darius into the Mundo shifts how this top side of the map works for Order, right? Like, once a few items and a few levels come in from the Darius, he has genuine kill threat against Sleeping. Of course, Sleeping has a traditional jungler in this sense, so Tally has more things to worry about. The matchup is kind of shifted it's a bit warped in that respect, but this isn't a Vladimir just waiting to scale up like we saw game number 1.
Oh, it's actually Rosie gets a nice stun here. However, Fear is going down. Why did he not go for Rosie?
Yes!
It's a miscommunication, and now they're going to look to turn it around. Rip in, however, that's Ignite down. Swiffer still has Flash available, will have to flash out. Now, however, Tarek is heading down the river. Tarek, are they going to be able to do this? The double supports are looking for it. Flash out of Rosie. The silence is there. And he whacks him with the mallet, Bryce, and he falls down.
And what is that fight? Misplay after misplay, but Order, they have the collapse. TP comes in from Swiffer, so he gets back to the wave. All of a sudden, the funnel champ, Zaya's just farming up camps on the top side, and Rogue, he splits this time, but he gets a kill for it.
Certainly does.
Spook's tier list, all right?
Yeah.
Like, Tarek is at the bottom right now, currently, and his Shen is...
Over the wall they go. Hold that thought. That is going to be level 6 popped and used instantly for FBI.
His Shen is certainly above.
Oh, actually, that is a snare landing if they get forward. No, they do not go for it. I was going to say stun plus flash. That is a dead Luch. But they didn't know where Kindred was.
And I'm going to finish my point, because that Fear, his fiddlesticks.
Bottom tier.
Yes, that was completely the wrong target, but...
And as lots of things in the world, you have your differences, but it's your similarities that unite you. And I, so far, am not a fan of the Spooks' fiddlesticks. So even though we argue about a lot of things, Bryce, I am 100% with you on this one.
Maybe we're being a bit too hard. I don't know. I can just flame him because I like him. You know, we chat behind the scenes. It's all right. But in terms of the game so far, gold lead basically dead even. Bombers, they have that early kill onto Luch.
Another rip back lands. Nice dash will avoid the W. That's a surprising amount of damage. The Spooks is just consistently stuffing up these creeps and taxing the lane. This is how you know he's a jungle fiddlesticks.
You're being real rough on Spooks. It's real tough. I like, in terms of like Bombers, I really like Rosie's like take on Bard. Like, he's happy to play. This is probably a negative matchup against the fiddlesticks. He outranges you, things like that, but he's very happy to just pick up the traditional like counters and play like the outplay game. He can sit there. He's been playing it in the bush so much. On this Bard, he has a pink ward in his inventory if he needs to use it to try and like get the auto Q. And he's actually gone Electrocute this game to get the hard damage proc onto the fiddlesticks. So once again, with the Lucian lock-in for Tiger, he's shown success on that champion. They have a much more aggressive bottom lane than they did last time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the bottom lane, once again, going relatively well, apart from that one kill where a random Tarek showed up in the lane. However, the area that I am a little bit concerned is top lane right now. Because this is a Conqueror Darius that is going to be playing into a Kindred. Now, I don't know if you remember the last time Darius and Kindred were meta together, but Kindred stopped being played into Darius, because if he ever gets 5-stack bleed off and just walks into Kindred ultimate, as actually that's another snare landing, and actually good stun lands on the back end, that might be Swiffer getting culled down, has to get behind some creeps. Good trade coming out.
And I was about to talk about silence is going to cancel the culling, but it just channels right through. I didn't honestly know that interaction there. It doesn't cancel the channel, so Tiger gets the full value out of that one.
And now Seb down in this bottom lane. They're going to look for it. Swiffer might have to pop the ultimate. That's a big slow coming out. Under the turret he goes, but uses the stopwatch. No bounce there, then dive back in. However, Swiffer should live.
But honestly, we'd be talking about Spooks' Fiddlestick. Silence MVP denies the Q coming out from Rosie, so no kill onto Swiffer. Didn't have flash, has no TP, so if he falls down, it's a long walk back to lane. Bombers still find themselves in an advantage. They push them out, but they don't get the kill.
And I don't think they're going to be able to hold this wave, so it could be a dragon picked up for Kindred, and it will certainly be this creep wave hitting the turret or Spooks falling down.
But once again, this is Seb investing in the bot side of the map, and you talked about this top matchup. That's a big wave underneath here. Phage already picked up, rips him back in, getting some nice trades onto the Mundo.
Yeah, Sleeping's in some trouble here. He's down 10 CS. He kept his teleport, which is really nice. However, if this lane is left without jungle pressure, it goes very heavily in Darius's favor.
And honestly, is hard for Seb to go up to the top side, right? Because mid lane, you expect, if Seb doesn't go mid first, we'll always have priority for FBI and Rogue. It's 2 versus 1. Zoe's just going to farm it up underneath the turret, and if you don't have deep vision against a funnel comp, they do on the bottom side of the map. They've warded up the blue buff, they've got wards in the river, but top side for Bombers on Order's side of the map is completely dead. So you don't know if FBI and Rogue have gone to farm a Wraith camp or if they're shadowing Tally on the top side of the map. So it's a pretty risky decision to try and gank Tally, but as we've been talking about, this matchup can go one-sided very quickly, so you kind of almost have to make it at a certain point.
As now Spooks looking for the first play of the game as the Fiddlesticks. He is in the side brush. Luch will respect it.
Seb does too. They don't walk the greedy way.
However, they have
Very
ultimate
nice
available for Rogue.
And do they actually just float topside? Pings go down into the top side of the map. No wards in the river. They will get spotted if they eventually walk
However,
around the
is
corner.
it going to be in time? Because even though they might get spotted under the turret, Spooks goes right now. Flash already popped. Will flash after. We'll get the very nice chain CC there, and that will just be FBI picking up a kill.
And it's just so easy. Flash Fear once again comes out. No way to dodge the dazzle. Do they just give solo gold to Tally? Because this is a big wave that's dying to the turret. Sleeping has TP, but with 4 members still up here for Order, there's no way he can TP back to try and defend this one. He's still got 10 seconds, so wouldn't even make it in time. Investment into Tally this game. You saw what he did without resources game number 1.
And weak side Swiffer backed very far away from the turret. However, now will get cold and will have to pop that ultimate. Teleport coming out from Tally actually going to be matched. Can they clear out this wave in time? Sleeping complete. Swiffer still in ultimate form. Will get stunned up and takes a lot of damage. And meanwhile, mid lane, Luch misses that Sleepy Trouble bubble. Will fall down to about half health.
And that's double TP from the top laners, which honestly is better for the Darius. If he can go top, if he can get into a long lane versus the Mundo, it's very good for them. Bombers did the right thing. They looked for an answer on the other side of the map, but because Tally has been untouched, he has the freedom to TP down there. Because this is a funnel, it's a 2 versus 1 in the mid lane.
Ooh, that
Luch
stun
doesn't have priority.
just missed. Luch obviously holding the flash, very confident in his abilities there. Will be able to pick up a cleanse here. However, gets rooted up and takes big damage. That was not worth.
There's lots of Bombers members around here. Do they actually look for something? No.
Kindred?
Be
Mark, potentially?
backing away. He scries to the top side of the map, so Order would have seen that one. Just got to take away a Wraith camp. Doesn't go for the mark just yet.
And once again, I feel like Swiffer has just been forced off all the farm, not by the opponents, but by his own team. That 20 CS, discrepancy top lane was 10. Actually, Sleepy Trouble bubble lands. However, no damage going to follow out.
Lucky he's got the cleanse on the side of Luch with that spell feed, because he can actually go forward, get instant feared by Spooks, and then rip back by Swiffer at the end of the portal jump. So
That's a nice ultimate from Rosie.
it's super rough, yes. Rosie keeps the turret alive.
They had 5 members there while Sleeping was catching a big wave bottom and actually takes down the turret. That
Buys them
probably
time.
was a 1,500 gold. Not that much. Maybe 1,200 gold swing there.
As Bombers actually flip the map here. I like it. They do have... Oh, Swiffer might be in trouble.
He's in big trouble here. Will get the phase rush. Will be able to run away very quickly. Will have to flash after Rosie burns his. However, over the wall goes Fiddlesticks, and Spooks is here, baby. Surprise party. Gets a kill for his mid laner.
And that's the overcommit from Rosie. He could have killed Swiffer, but didn't account for the flash. Keeps himself safe and loses his life for the potential play.
And once again, I feel like even though it is the funnel that will have a lot of this gold, it is the top laner, as well as the utility members of Order, that are making this composition successful.
Absolutely. They're moving around the map, making things happen here, Spooks. Top side we just saw gets that nice little pick. In terms of how Bombers need to play this one, they've opted not for the early skirmish once again in terms of the jungle matchup, in terms of attacking the funnel. Potentially, they could have known at the Tarek stage in the draft, being like, hey, that's very weird. Like, maybe we should opt in for like a more aggressive top laner, things like that. But no, they went back to something like the Kindred, like the Mundo. So their scaling once again is fine. Lucian can absolutely pop off late game. Bard is very hit and miss in terms of like, if you hit your buttons in the right order, late game you can wreak havoc. If Fiddlesticks comes into a fight, gets instant stunned, he dies against another champion. If they can CC Rogue before he gets the ulti down, then Order's comp does sort of fall apart a little bit.
Absolutely.
So there's always this outplay potential, but it seems like that Order have the advantage in terms of going forwards, but Bombers, like, they have the one button wonder that can make it work.
Because we heard how they wanted to play the game. They said they felt like they had more pressure as that Sleepy Trouble Bubble will land. Rogue going to block this one up. Actually takes a lot of damage still. However, they will get control of this area.
Fighting over Rift Herald control once again. We saw game number 1. Rogue cancelled that when Bombers had it. Order trying to maintain something. Tiger actually face checks a pink ward. Dashes.
Will not. Actually is in Rift territory. Will not get pulled back, however. Very nicely done by Tiger to escape.
Barely gets himself out of that one. Dash was actually buffered through the fear. Very nice timing there.
His Lucian
a bit of range.
is much more impressive, I would say, than any other AD carry that he played.
And that's super weird going back to like the first time we saw him, right? He was known as like a very...
Sleepy Trouble Bubble landed on FBI. Has to use ultimate.
ulti.
Does not land the Bard ultimate. The snare is there for Seb. However, Swiffer not rotating to the play.
But that's FBI taking 2 bubbles in a row here, Luch. Starting to get the better of them. Zoe is very annoying for a Tarek to deal with. Sure, you can cast your ulti when you predict the damage to come through, but it's just the constant poke. If a bubble lands, it's a huge burst that you know is coming. And if FBI can't dodge them, then super rough.
However, there is still a big concern in that bottom lane. It is now a 40 CS lead starting to grow for Tally. It's now 30 as the wave will be cleared out, but he's got an Executioner's calling, and he is bullying this Mundo around.
Absolutely. Order. Take the opportunity around the blue bus. One Spooks is actually going.
Going for it. Actually, they flash forward. They'll be able to get the fear. Lamb's Respite is down. Big damage coming out. That will be the dunk, and it will start it all off. In goes Tally. Looks for number 2.
Oh.
And that will be picked up by FBI. Already 2 members dead. Turret falls. Now Swain looking for Lucian in the jungle. Mundo taking a lot of damage. However, that will be the disengage.
And honestly, very nice play from Seb there. Keeps them alive for long enough, sleeping late on the collapse because Tally is just so big, but the fact that he didn't reset after reset, they buy enough time. FBI actually got the second kill there. With that last auto attack, the crit takes them down, so they do well to hold in all honesty.
Yeah, they certainly do. Let's take another look at it. Flash forward, started this one off.
That is a huge range engage coming out of Spooks. The fact that they predict this one very well. Sleeping comes through from the side, and Tarek ulti lands onto 3 people. Seb unfortunately dies at the end, and they do all just back away.
And that's what I was going to say about Kindred, is Kindred saw a little bit of play when Darius was in the meta when I was casting the LPL. And people stopped playing Kindred into Darius. Because if he gets a Q off at the very end of your Lamb's Respite, he gets so much health back as people crowd in.
Yep.
And you generally have 5 stacks. You got that Bloodlust passive running, and he just execute after execute, does it so successfully, especially with a Tarek in this comp. It just seems to synergize so well.
Because it's weird to talk about the synergy of like Lamb's Respite and Cosmic Radiance. Like the Kindred ulti and the Tarek, they're in opposite teams, but it kind of helps Rogue to just time his ultimate when the Kindred ulti ends, and he can just keep his team alive for even longer. It's like a super niche interaction. Didn't happen that time, but tracking into late game team fights can be a big effect.
Bombers have been very persistent with this Rift Herald, and it doesn't seem to be working out for them. Order once again going to collapse here, and that actually will be Seb having to leap over the wall potentially. Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land. They're going to have to block it. Actually just goes Golden instead and will be able to run away from this one.
Lucian is actually on the flank here, so Order keeping the aggro. Looking for a Smite fight, potentially. FBI is going to have to be the one.
Doesn't have Smite available. That's going to be another Sleepy Trouble Bubble coming in. That's Teleport,
Big.
as well as a huge Bard ultimate. However, on the front line is Tally, and just deletes the Kindred before anything begins. They do get themselves the Herald, but they have to back away.
And Tally absolutely saves the day. Spooks 100% would have died in the back end of that huge Bard ulti out of Rosie, but as soon as the Darius lands, it's just lights out for Bombers.
Certainly is, and you can see now with a big minion wave coming in, they're going to look to continue this push.
Spooks.
Can they get anything done? Spooks wants over the wall, will go for the fear. Very nice QSS, and Spooks just falls down for nothing.
He looked for the play, couldn't find it. QSS out of Tiger, stun from Rosie.
Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands, and this will be Tally 100% getting shut down.
And goes on to Luch. The bubbles have absolutely been on point this game, time and again, onto FBI, onto Spooks. Now that they got the Rift Herald, they actually picked it up during the fight. They get to answer mid.
Yeah, the counter push will be there this time. You can see FBI wants to stick around. He wants to be able to pick up this big wave. We'll go for a cheeky Raptor camp in the meanwhile. However, Order for the first time, I feel like this whole series, now seriously being challenged.
Big burst of damage. Ignite
Huge
actually
damage,
comes out
actually.
from
Ignite
OG.
coming out, as well as the fact that he gets ultimate.
did
However,
Shelly-
does he burn down? He does, because Luch ignites him as well.
And Shelly just hit him with the AoE auto attack on the turret, lands onto Zaya.
And Rogue, what are you doing? Walks forward, takes half of his health bar. Now Seb looking to continue the chase, will get ripped back, takes half his health as well.
And the switch has absolutely flipped for the Bombers. You know, once they got their first item spike, Bork onto Lucian, Ludens for the Zoe, they've absolutely turned on. They start with that Rift Herald play and fight after fight. It's just been continuous. The CC, whilst not reliable, if you land a skill shot, you can get onto Order and take them down. It's just been so successful.
And game number 1, we complimented FBI. He was the one carry. He went QSS, stayed relatively safe the whole game. Little mistakes here and there. This game, however, has just gone and picked up a BF sword and has been hit by far too many Sleepy Trouble Bubbles for my liking.
Agree with you on that one. The CS lead in the top lane hasn't gotten any bigger, which is good for the Bombers. The fact that Tally hasn't had time in a long lane alone with Amundo means that he's almost finishing up his Warmogs there, approaching his second item.
Over the wall, actually will get snared up. Rip is not going to be there. However, Land's Respite is. That's a big cooldown for Seb to use over a Gromp.
So that is very respect from Order. They don't continue the chase. They don't have vision deep in the jungle. They ultimately just back away. They're looking for the steal. Smite, oh, that hurts.
Yeah, he's so nervous about doing it. He knows that Spooks has ultimate available. That he can just fly over that wall if he chooses. Tally, however, doesn't have TP, not going to be there, if that is the case.
Order still looking for something.
Actually, that's going to be Bard ultimate thrown out. Misses everything. It was onto the Baron.
Yeah, they actually don't know what's going on right now. Don't have vision past the river. Pink wards everywhere for Order.
They just saw Seb smite, however. So now they could do the Baron if they wanted.
Their Baron is very rough. They probably, at this stage of the game, have to burn, like Taric ulti to even live. Taric's pretty good. He can spam the AoE heal, but they don't have a pure tank. He's very squishy. They have a Fiddlesticks who can drain, but without Tally being there, it's very hard for Order just willy-nilly, like with 5 members of Bombers on the map, to actually start that one up.
Yep, absolutely. Point taken. As Taric gets maybe one more item, that becomes a null factor, as he will just sit there with cooldown reduction, spamming out heals from the auto.
You choose through mana, but you keep everyone alive. Auto attack resets your cooldowns, obviously. You spam the AoE heal. Back in Ardent meta, he was like just straight up the best support to have when you're doing Barons. 5-man Ardent.
Oh, Seb actually jumped over the wall there. If Spooks had been aware, would have been able to go for something. I like the positioning from Bombers, though. They're still trying to aggressively progress this ward line.
Seb eventually gets the Gromp. And Order are really sticking to this play. Tally doesn't have TP, so there's no real flank potential. They're not willing to just force something to happen on the top side of the map, so they're playing it fairly defensively. Obviously, they are stronger right now, and they have control over the Baron, so they're trying to force a Bomber's mistake without being willing to just like pull the trigger on a play themselves.
They're still farming all 3 lanes. They're still farming their jungle. Bottom jungle has been kind of a 50-50 between the Mundo and the Darius so far. So it really is starting to shut out Seb, because when you have a jungler, they need to access camps. Whereas when you have a Fiddlesticks and a Taric,
He doesn't care.
they don't care. Once they get to level 11 probably for the cooldown of the ultimate, they're happy to sit there for the rest of the game.
That's late game, especially when your jungler is a Kindred. More so than any jungler, she needs items. Her mark was actually on Order's Wolf camp, which just got taken out. So at this point in the game, if the camp is on Order's side of the map, then there's no way Seb's getting it. And
Sleeping potentially caught out here. Will get hooked back. Will get slowed down. This is going to be a Fiddlesticks ult over the wall. Will start popping that ultimate. However, will get dunked. And another pick generated by Spooks.
And it's so hard. The Executioner's calling is there. Healing denied. Sleeping. You can see the look on his face. Very disappointed. The ulti costs him health, and then Darius just hits him with a one-shot. So it's so hard to live. If they don't have vision of the Fiddlesticks, he has to play so defensively.
And the thing is that they probably will trade top side of the map. However, potentially Swiffer's too far up here. You can see they are now coming in. However, Fiddle is so far away. That's big damage out onto the Taric. Over the wall they go, and Swiffer will start to corral them. Actually misses a rip back, and that's Tiger putting out some massive damage.
I'm surprised he didn't go forward there. They have Luch. The Zoe finally arrived. Potentially didn't want to trade with FBI, but
That's what I was going to say. I thought they would have been able to win that. Nice rip there onto Tiger, but he's not really all that worried about Swiffer's damage because it's non-existent.
Yep. Has a little bit of MR, has the Mercs, has the QSS, also has the lifesteal, so
He's
anything
so
that
weak.
Swiffer can do, he's just going to heal it up off the wave.
Swiffer has nothing. He's got 158 CS. He is the lowest CS on the map by 60. This is a guy that was arguably the best player in Oceania a couple of years ago. Now just relegated to playing CC bottom.
Weak side, Swain, bottom lane. something
How
6
the
months
mighty
ago.
have fallen.
6 months ago, that would not have been a thing. Turret aggro means the Tiger will have to step away, but as you talked about, doesn't care. Swiffer might be in trouble.
Actually has to go into ultimate here. This is 3 members
Stun
up. That
lands.
stun is going to register. Do they continue to chase forward? No, they don't. So Swiffer will scare them away.
They knew something was up. Tally isn't showing on the bot wave. All of a sudden, Sleeping is finding a bit of priority. So you saw what happened last time Darius grouped with the rest of Bombers. It was an absolute disaster. So as soon as he's missing on the map, they don't want to chase forward. They just want to take the
However,
guaranteed
Sleeping
plays.
Trouble Bubble lands, and that is going to be on a priority target. They blow up Rogue, and that's going to be a great ultimate out of
Very
par.
nice.
Gets both of the supports. Rogue's going to have to use his instantly. Will be able to get it down. However, Swiffer is still not coming to this play. Do they even fight it? Yes, it looks like they will. Flash forward out of Luch. Will secure the first kill. However, Bombers now disengage.
They have flank wards. Swiffer could have gone for a play. Spooks was potentially looking for an ultimate, but very nice from Bombers. They don't overcommit. They take the pick. Bubble lands. Rogue buys a lot of time with the stopwatch with the ulti, but that's a big cooldown. And now 4 versus 5. Bombers going to take themselves the second dragon of the game.
And they just got Flash, Stopwatch, and Ultimate out of Rogue. 3 massive cooldowns.
Yep.
We already saw that Order struggled to play around Taric Ultimate the first time they played this kind of composition. And now Bombers have a gold lead. Not significant, but they're up in gold. And they have a couple of dragons in their name. Next one going to be Infernal.
And it's this finesse composition. They keep landing the unreliable CC. Bubble lands, Bard ulti lands, the stun comes out from Rosie, and as you're pointing at, Infinity Edge actually gets picked up for FBI.
Yeah, he is 3 very strong items versus kind of the mismatched
like
Hungry Jack's meal.
It's like 1.5 of 2.
It's like when you have that weird friend that goes to Hungry Jack's, gets himself some fries, but doesn't want the burger. Instead, he gets a sundae and just starts dipping his fries
You don't
in his
put your
sundae.
fries in your sundae.
That is what the build out of Tiger is right now.
You don't do it. He wants to finish the Black Cleaver, wants the Executioners for the Darius, for the Fiddle. There's so much healing for the Swain as well.
Yep.
Also needs the QSS because he doesn't have a traditional support. FBI has a Taric.
That's going to be Spooked having to use the Zonya's Hourglass and will start zooming away. However, bottom lane right now, it's just being shoved in to the inhibitor by Tally.
And he doesn't care. Seb is around.
He'll
But there's
one hit
potentially that he can just 2v1 this right now. Hits level 16, so rank 3 ultimate all of a sudden.
Actually just dash forward, Seb, and now will be put in the Thunderdome. No, will not. Very nice kiting coming out. Leaps forward.
goes.
However, that is the flash, and they should be able to time the execution. Can he? No. Nice flash over the wall, and now Tally will eventually
Can he
fall
heal?
down. That's going to be a very
lands.
nice ultimate. Ultimate comes out, but he
Oh.
gets eaten at the same time, and all of a sudden, Order is running away.
Is Spooks ulting away from a fight there? Maybe. We didn't get to see, but they do very well to deal with Tally. That was almost a 2 versus 1. Seb uses the flash to get away. The dunk from Darius
Probably would've
frames
killed.
away from potentially killing Sleeping there, but he dies just in time. And this is good for Bombers. They're buying more time for their tanks to get tankier. They have that poke that's so annoying. When you're red side sitting up around the Baron and looking for baits, there's so many walls for a Zoe to just throw a stun through that lasts so long. We're actually going to see they started up the Baron.
Spooks threatens to go.
Okay. We didn't see the first part. We only saw the second. So Bubble lands. They looked for some sort of play, trying to force Bombers topside when Tally had 2 people on the bottom side of the map. So
Would you call that a zoning ultimate? Oh, actually, that is going to land the rip back, however. Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands again.
doesn't need to burn the Zonyas because Zoe just burnt her ultimate, getting the bubble in the first place. So we've seen Spooks do it so many times. As soon as bubble lands, he procs the Zonyas, so there can't be any follow-up. Swiffer this time doesn't have to. But Bombers, for the first time this game, have some semblance of control around the Baron pit.
Yeah, they certainly do. However, that is big damage going out onto Rosie,
That's
and that is
unlucky.
a magical journey leading not to a magical place.
I hate when that happens. It feels so bad. And sometimes, when it happens in solo queue, you just sit there spamming
Sleepy
the
Trouble
triple
Bubble
through.
again onto Spooks. They're going to have to body block it. They
Oh.
do. However, now
Oh.
Swiffer is at half health, and Spooks has to get out of there. This is the fight that the Bombers are looking for. Swiffer so low, and you can see they're just continuing to crawl. However, a nice 2-man stun.
Nice.
FBI gets hit, and this will have to be the ultimate out of Rogue, you feel. Ultimate out of FBI jumps
He
into
jumps
a Sleepy
into the
Trouble
bubble.
and that will have to be the Cosmic Radiance burnt. That could be Baron.
And huge misplay to FBI. Suddenly, they didn't have the Fiddle ultimate. They burned both of the bottom lane. No Cosmic Radiance, no Featherstorm. Bombers, they have the pinks. They can bait Order in here, and they're looking to start up the Baron.
And do not underestimate how quickly Kindred does Baron. You can see already at about 11,000 health. Now at 10 as they bring more members over. Swiffer is going bottom lane because he does have teleport. Now we'll start channeling it. Spooks gets a ward in the pit, does have ultimate available. However, do you think this will be a fight? Spooks goes over, finds absolutely nada. So they say, that is fine, boys. Let's go back to the Baron. Let's continue to bait this one out.
But they can't 50-50. It's a level 16 Xayah versus a level 13 on the Kindred. The Smite fight favors Order.
Yeah, Mundo is stuck in the pit now. Order try and corral them around. That is Mundo burning ultimate. Swiffer so low, but gets the Rift back, and that's going to be land for a spite. However, very nicely timed bubble will come out, and now they go for it. FBI goes so low, goes over, gets the Baron. Tally is now resetting everywhere in this fight. Will be able to pick himself up. A cheeky triple kill, and that should be a little bit of reprieve.
And this is just so close between the two teams. You can see what FBI was looking for. He needed to get the smite. Eventually he does, but it costs him 2 lives on the back end of that one. Tally, very lucky to get that triple kill. He is so incredibly strong. If he didn't, all of a sudden this could have been multiple members from Bombers whacking away in the base of
You would argue that's an inhibitor if he doesn't get the triple kill. If FBI doesn't get that Baron, you would argue it was nearly the game. Everything had lined up for the Bombers there. Gold is still dead even. Now they will take an 1,000 gold lead. In a minute, we're going to see an Infernal Dragon spawn and Order. They've got everything they want, but they still can't win.
And this is such a close fight. Order, after the Fiddlesticks uses the ulti, they don't have a good form of engage. The best you've got is Tally walking up. He takes a bit of chunk damage. Rogue pops a bubble to the face. Sleeping, he's a Mundo, and nobody that has hit him so far has got Executioner's Calling or the Morello, so he just heals up completely. But the fact that Swiffer dies moments away from stepping into the Kindred ulti, such a big deal. A huge Q out of Zoe once again, takes down everyone. Tally does so much damage, gets himself another couple of kills, but just so close between these two teams.
I want to point out that was an auto attack and an ultimate coming out of Tally that killed the AD carry of Bombers.
Yep.
That's all he hit him with. 1 auto attack, 1 R. That doesn't seem fair.
And that's a tanky AD carry as well. That's a black cleaver AD carry. None of these Gwinsu's.
I hate Darius.
Yeah. He's a big damage threat. Got himself a cheeky little Guardian Angel as well, so if he dies this time, he's going to come back alive.
I'm really not a fan of Darius.
And this is a super interesting game, because neither team has like a reliable way to start something up. Like if Spooks isn't now ahead or to find themselves like down in gold, they don't have the map completely open, whereas like Bombers have matched them in that regard. If Spooks doesn't have the flank, suddenly Fiddlesticks engage is pretty hard to pull off. And Bombers in exactly the same boat here. The one Baron is still alive on the Taric, so Rogue did not fall down in that fight, and Order looking to siege.
I do worry, however, for Bombers as this game progresses, just because you would argue that Cosmic Radiance is such an important tool if you're proactive. When they're using it reactively, it's so hard to time correctly. However, if there's ever a fight that Spooks and Tally can get into the back line with that Cosmic Radiance, they should be able to run over the top, given the fact that they've now got 2 Infernal Drakes, and it's a Darius as a crit 80 carry that use them so well.
Yep. Absolutely here, Bombers look to try and get something on the top side of the map. The Lucian was up there, potentially just farming up the Storm. Got himself the 2 items we talked about, had a bit of everything going before, working on his next one, and needs to catch back up. Comparative to the Xayah, sitting on 3 completed right now, goes for the QSS, now has the time to go defensive. We talked about early game, mid game, tanked so many bubbles. In the mid lane, literally walked through a bubble that was on the ground.
Yeah.
Had to burn the Featherstorm because of it. So.
Ultied into a bubble on a separate occasion. He's had some done goofed moments.
There's a lot of things flying around, Bard Qs, like Zoe bubbles, good point. Zoe Qs, there's a lot of stuff going everywhere.
But even with the open base, even with that Baron buff, Order weren't able to break anything. They got 1 turret, as did the Bombers. So Bombers actually came out ahead in gold by about 600.
Because it's tough when Taric is the only one that has your Baron. Your strong point as Order right now is the Darius. The gold lead, almost 3,000 in his favor, more like 2.5. If he's 1v1 versus a Mundo and he has a Baron, he takes that inhib for free. Absolutely easy. Seb isn't level 15. We saw the 2v1 potential almost come out of Tally. It was Summoners burnt by Bombers to keep it alive. But all of a sudden, Order only have the Baron on Taric, and they don't want to just 5-man push up a lane. It's so easy to land a skill shot when you have 5 open targets to shoot through, especially through a choke like the base, so Order not willing to commit there.
And whilst you can see an Infinity Edge ahead for FBI right now as he is sitting on 4 complete items, you do also have to notice it is a death cap ahead for Luch.
Yep. He's very big.
So he is certainly a big boy. Tally also very far ahead on this Darius, going for probably last item, Mortal Reminder, maybe?
Because for O standards, like, this game is pretty low kill. 33 minutes, 21 kills. Luch has 8 out of 11. He has almost all of them for this Bombers lineup. He's been landing bubble after bubble, has so much damage now, as you mentioned, with the death cap to one-shot so many people. He has basically 4 targets. Anyone but Tally will take a whole burst of damage from Luch if anything ever lands.
Absolutely, and we see right now they're going into, once again, a very deep 1-3-1, waiting for this Baron to spawn, but they haven't swept behind it, and because it is a pink ward, it will remain there for the entirety.
That's why this is interesting, right? It's a level 18 Darius, but doesn't... Oh, actually.
He's going to go for it
He's
here, I
sneaking,
think.
he's looking.
He's waiting for him to start window shopping. That's what he's doing. So we'll be able to interrupt. We'll get the slowdown. However, now Sleeping turns around. We'll rip him back. We'll get all the stacks out. Now we'll have to start trying to run. We'll flash after him. We'll get the dunk. We'll not get the damage. Missed time by 1 auto attack.
Yes, if he got the Q flash onto the Mondo, that would have been a kill, but unfortunately, does not quite land, so goes flash for flash, doesn't get the kill.
But Mundo's flash not that valuable in a team fight. Tally's flash to chase down a Tiger,
Big
to
deal.
take down a Luch. Very big deal.
And neither team really has the capacity to do anything without the Baron buff. Bombers are behind, Order have map control, but without the Baron, they struggle to take structures down. Swiffer looks for the last auto attack. FBI probably just going to take it here.
Oh, actually, he takes half his health instead. Not big fan of that. You can see the nice wards on the flank. We will make them feel very safe right now.
It's also hard to siege against the Bard. With your auto attack range, everybody knows it. So Rosie can land an ulti if you step up
Trouble
the
Bubble
turret
does
very
land
easily.
onto Swiffer. Will have to burn that Zonya's Hourglass already. Now they
Ulti.
just use the ultimate. FBI looking to continue the siege. Not going to happen.
That's a big cooldown to burn right before Baron spawns. About 40 seconds away from this one. Both top laners have TP, but they're actually just grouping in the mid lane right now. Order maintain control. There is that pink ward, as you mentioned, behind the Baron pit, so flank can come from Sleeping if it doesn't get cleared, but you expect it will.
FBI should check it now. No, he does not. A little bit of a cardinal sin there as you walk to red buff. Walk through brushes, guys.
Does Rogue, or does he hit the plan? I think he hits the plan. Oh, that hurts. There's also a blue trinket that Spooks is going to be the guy. Ready? In about 3 seconds, he walks over the blue ward.
Yeah, and now he thinks, oh, there could be more.
And he didn't hit it! No! And he doesn't walk into the bush! No! He goes back. He realized. Someone pinged it. Swiffer pinged it.
Swiffer pinged it.
Yep.
Potentially Swiffer is the guy. Everyone's had a crack. But no one has yet mastered how to walk into that brush. And if Mundo gets behind them, it could be trouble.
There we go. They see it. They have to. Yep. All right. They finally got it. So no flank wards. Mind you, Sleeping doesn't really want to flank behind as a Mundo at this stage of the game. Bubble. Looking to get onto FBI once again. Doesn't quite find it.
And Order don't seem like they know how to close out this game. You can see right now they're moving back and forward. FBI takes so much damage. And now they just have to head for the hills.
And that wasn't even with the bonus damage of the bubble. That wasn't CC landing and you have to expend a cooldown, you have to expend Featherstorm. That was just a straight up Q from Luch. Once again, he's got himself the GLP. We saw how much damage that does to someone like Spooks or any of the squishy members of Order's lineup. So Luch is just such a big threat right now.
They have caught Sleeping out. However, he just walks through them and says, bugger off.
Mundo goes wherever the hell he wants to
Is that the saying?
quote it exactly.
So now they know where Spooks is. Spooks needs to get a little bit more creative, I feel, here, Bryce. So they actually start up the Baron one more time. Do Order give it up and just go towards the Infernal, the Elder? I think they do.
100%. They have the double Infernal. It's an absolute race here. They need to kill it before Bombers rotate down. Sleeping can't be the only one left here. They use Seb's Smite, has 2 charges, but that's a lot of damage. This one's just going to fall.
Yeah, you cannot rotate into that fog of war.
Oh,
however,
by time.
they might look to try and do it right now. 2,000 health. I think this might be a mistake. They do pick it up. That's going to be Sleeping Trouble Bubble landing. However, now Flash has to be expended by Rosie.
Spooks is looking for a deep flank. Does not pull the trigger here. Might be caught out, but Blast Blank gets him away. Huge waves in both side lanes here as Order take the buff and just back away.
And now the question is, who scales better, Lucian or Swain? Which is such a weird way to pose the question, but right now, it is Tiger and Swiffer that have fallen substantially behind in gold. And they're actually going to use a teleport out of Sleeping to get top lane turret.
They have the Baron. They want to keep the wave alive, but I don't think they want to they don't want a team fight. So if that's a TP for an inner, has to be questionable. I expect, given that they burnt the TP, they're looking for more.
They have to look to fight on this wave now. You can see that that was a Sleepy Trouble bubble landing again.
Banshees is burnt from the Zoe, though. Very deep flank coming out of Tally. Order just want to buy time.
Certainly is. They've pinged him out, however, and now
Spooks.
Swiffer will look to go in. Spooks will look to go in, and Tally into the back line, looking for Luge. Will get the dunk, and now will start trying to tear them apart. You can see how quickly he is running them down, and that is actually just going to be a teleport into the mid lane. Do they just look to end?
And this Darius does so much damage, immediately gets the flank, blows up multiple people. If he had access to more, everybody would have died, but 3 members leave from Bombers. They do have Baron, so defending with Baron creeps is possible, but this is a double Infernal Elder Drake for Order.
45-second death timers on the carry of Luch. Now down to 30 as the wave will start to crash here. Can they approach FBI? Because he is just so damn strong.
And they don't have ultimates. There's no Cosmic Radiance, so they don't
They
have
go
multiple
onto
to
Kindred.
stun.
Flash forward actually going to be there. Lamb's Respite has to come down, but now Tiger cannot get into
Nice.
it. Game-saving ultimate coming out of Rosie there. They will just have to settle for 1 inhibitor and back out.
There's 10 seconds left. Chiefs would go for the end, but Order do as well.
Yeah, they certainly are looking for it. That's going to be a stun onto FBI again. They are putting in so much work right now. They're onto the Nexus. Flash forward out of Tully, and he's just unstoppable. This Darius is too big, and for once, Order focus the Nexus and pick up a 2-0.
And the death time is just coming up and available. Barely close enough, and they can't defend the Nexus there. Luch was so incredibly big. He was 8-1 in that team fight. Darius gets a single flank, immediately blows him up, and the game is over. That's rough.
See, FBI getting around Tally, knows that in game 1, the Vladimir was instrumental. And then in game 2, the Darius was the carry.
And that's it. The Vladimir took time. It was just a stable early game. He was just farming it up. The priority was on shutting down the funnel, but he was just the extra carry threat. Game number 2 on the Darius into the Mundo matchup. Played against Mundo twice, and you saw the difference, and he just took over the game.
And my worry about Order playing the funnel was we've seen against Legacy that if you get a jungler up into Tally's lane, he will die early, and potentially he will die off it. However, it was very strange that Bombers did not attack the side lanes whatsoever. Game number 1, Swiffer and Spooks were 2v2 killing their opponents at level 2, level 4.
Yep.
And then this game, they were really playing around Luch again. Just a strange way to attack the funnel.
Because they did in game number 1, right? There was that game-changing play where it was like the Kai'Sa going with the Mundo, looking for the pick-off in the side lane, and that was just catastrophic, honestly. Like, that didn't go well, and it hugely swung the game. And then game number 2, like, it just didn't look like they had the play. We talked about earlier on in the game when, like, Rift Herald was up and available. That's like a contested objective, and it's a very hard decision for Seb to make, to want to go up there and try and influence the Darius lane. Obviously didn't, and Tally runs away with a victory.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think that, you know, 2 very different funnel comps played there, but it wasn't actually the funnel that was generating an advantage. It was the side lane. And I want to talk about Bombers just quickly, because that is a team that looked very cool under pressure, to be honest. It honestly looked until the Baron that they were potentially going to win that game.
They were in control of the game for like significant portions, right? And we talk about, both of us talk about like ease of execution, like hard CC, things like that, but it was just Zoe bubble landing. Rosie's Bard has always been his pocket pick. He lands the good ultimates multiple times. Sure, there was like a couple that whiffed, but he bought time on the turrets. He bought time with the Elder Drake for Bombers to get there, and they have these like kind of niche picks that are working well for them. Unfortunately, when push comes to shove and a 70-0 Darius like gets onto your Zoe, she dies. So like that sucks, but they had control for certain points of that game.
Well, let's talk to the 70-0 Darius, as he is alongside right now with Cyclone, as well as Nick.
Let's talk. Indeed, I'm here with Tally. Mate, congratulations. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good after that 2-0. Thank you.
What stuck out for you?
I thought that was a much slower game, I think, than the first one.
Yeah.
I'd like to know like how, like when you're in a game like that and it's getting to late game and like it's kind of like Bulletstorm Zoe, you know, through the topside jungle. Do you guys like, do you feel calm like when you're like watching your team having to like dodge all that, or are you kind of like, I'm gonna have to do something?
Well, I wouldn't say we feel calm. Like we didn't really have any answer to the Zoe like harass. It was kind of just like, in the end, it came down to like our experience in that situation that won us the game, and then not so much that like we could really just like win because we were ahead, or like we felt like we were ahead. So the pressure was definitely like on us to like actually win through macro for once instead of micro, and like it came up in the end, and I'm happy that like we pulled it off.
Yeah, cool. I really like that you guys picked the fight top lane after they got Baron rather than at the Baron, because it's much easier to deal with
Yeah, yeah.
Zoe in a wide open space.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. I was wondering, I have another one question for you, which is teams, usually the way that they learn is through like discussion and review of previous both errors and successes. And I wanted to know, like in your team, who leads those discussions? Like how do you resolve those conflicts?
Well, I think for us, like it's mainly all of us. We don't really have like a leader.
Yeah.
Like with Choo Choo's, he's not so much our coach as much as like a third man for us to have the outside perspective when we do have discussion, which is really handy for us because I feel like a lot of us are coming from other teams and we're all like 3+ year veterans in the scene, so we'll have our own opinions of how the game should be played. And the problem that we had in the beginning was we didn't have the extra opinion to say like no, yes, and all that stuff. So like when we got Aaron, it was really easy for us to just have the discussion between us and have him middleman it. And like we would just pretty much go through like we'd play it, we'd understand how it was supposed to go, we'd have the discussion, then we'd improve.
Okay, so almost like a debate, and he's like the adjudicator at the end. It's like, all right, Simon wins.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
And that's, you were saying that your role, you find the way that you coach is a lot more about extracting information out for people. So there's a similarity there, I'd say.
Yeah, I guess it's the difference in dynamic there comes from you're saying you've got pretty much everyone's a veteran, whereas on my team I've got guys that are still in their first,
Of course,
couple of years of playing versus we've got really experienced guys coming over. So we have a big skill gap.
Yep.
So it makes more sense for me to try and bridge that rather than helping work out the differences between the experienced players.
Yeah, interesting. And I've also got a question in from Twitter from Emerald, who says, what is your most ideal champ that fits your playstyle? Real, made up, or a mashup? And their example would be theirs would be if Mundo was an AD marksman.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I'd have to go with like a mix of Gangplank and Ezreal.
Explain yourself. Why?
So like I myself I really just enjoy last hitting minions. And then like so as a game I would just enjoy going 300 CS and just never seeing a champion for 30 minutes. Like that's fun to me. And then I want the Ezreal like jumping around in the team fight towards the end of the game. So like I would like to farm my 6 items and then play a champion that just bounces around everywhere.
So your ideal game of League of Legends is that the game is happening with 4 people on your team.
Yep.
And you're on a separate, smaller map.
Yep.
Just like a 1-lane map.
Yep.
And you're just last hitting creeps for 30 minutes.
Top lane's just disconnected.
Okay.
So that you can't cross. No one can come up to me, but I'm just killing my minions with my opponent. We're having fun up there.
Well, look, a man can dream, and we'll see what happens next patch. And we will also see what happens next game, because up next we've got the Chiefs versus the Dire Wolves, and that is coming out right after these highlights.
Current Spooks goes right now. Flash already popped. Will flash after. We'll get the very nice chained CC there, and that will just be FBI picking up a kill. Over the wall goes Fiddlesticks, and Spooks is here, baby! Surprise party! Gets a kill for his mid laner. And they flash forward. They'll be able to get the fear. Land's Respite is down. Big damage coming out. That will be the dunk, and it will start it all off. In goes Tally. Looks for number 2. But that will be picked up by FBI. Trouble Bubble coming in. That's Teleport.
Big.
As well as a huge Bard ultimate. However, on the front line is Tally. And just deletes the Kindred before anything begins. Swiffer so low, but gets the rip back. And that's going to be Land's Respite. However, very nicely timed Bubble will come out. And now they go for it. FBI goes so low. Goes over. Gets the Baron. Tally is now resetting everywhere in this fight. Will be able to pick himself up. A cheeky triple kill. Spooks will look to go in, and Tally into the back line, looking for Luge. Will get the dunk, and now we'll start trying to tear them apart. They're onto the Nexus, flash forward out of Tally, and he's just unstoppable. This Darius is too big, and for once, autofocus the Nexus and pick up a 2-0.